Hello and welcome to season 3, episode of Jacked Up Being Frank, and we're back. Um, it's been a long summer, not a long summer, but went by quick. We're back. After a long, as I said, long summer and NBA. Of course, we missed the NBA free agency, which I think was very good. I can't really put it up against a lot of other free agencies. I don't really like doing that, but I think it was very busy. Like, not busy, but I feel like there was a lot of Giannis. Giannis is one of the, you know, Giannis to the Bucks is one of their best franchise athletes. Like one of the best athletes in the world. Like having him move is big. And then you get LeBron. I mean, of course, like he's 41, but of course, still LeBron James moving. No matter what you say, no matter if you don't like him or whatever, him moving is big. I know people might think it's just for drama, but him moving is big, and he still gives the Philly stuff. And then Jaylen Brown also going to Philly. So Philly built themselves up. We'll talk about that versus New York because we are kind of East Coast focused. Definitely. I mean, we'll talk about West Coast. If there's a team out West, we'll talk about the Thunder and stuff like that. But we're a very East Coast heavy podcast. So the East is really beefing up, especially Philly, even though Philly made the playoffs last year, but then got what we're going to say smoked out. It's the nicest way I could say by New York in 4 games. So, you want to start with NBA? I mean, NFL also. We'll get to NFL as well. Sorry, we'll get to NFL.
Yeah, so Jack, first of all, it's great to be back. I mean, you said it was a long summer, but I guess in a way it was, but it felt really quick. We did our last show 2 months ago. I was trying to think of the date. It's actually June 17th because it was the Wednesday after the Knicks won the championship because they won Saturday night, June 13th. So our last show was on June 17th. And then the parade for the Knicks was the next day, June 18th, which you and your mother went to. So, so it's been 2 months since we've done a show. We did our season finale for season 2, and now here we are with the opening episode of season 1. So it's really, of season 3. So it's really exciting that we're starting our 3rd season of Jacked Up and Being Frank. So for today's show, I mean, we'll recap the summer. So as you said with the NBA, the big moves, and there were some really big things that happened, those key things that you mentioned. We'll talk about the Knicks, see where they're at, expectations for this upcoming season, which the expectations go win another championship. And then we'll get into NFL, previewing the upcoming season. We are in preseason. Week 2 of the preseason games is coming up. So there's a lot there. So we'll begin that preview, but then we'll get even more into it, make our predictions before kickoff of the season, which is now 3 weeks away. It's 3 weeks from tonight that the Patriots play the Seahawks. So you have that Super Bowl rematch. And then we'll talk baseball. I mean, there's been a lot going on in baseball the last couple of months.
The Mets started to sell at that. I'm not going to go over you, but the Mets started to sell in that trade deadline, which, I mean, I think people were thinking of, but they did start selling. They started making some moves. I mean, we can go over that a little bit, the trade deadline. I don't know how much you want to go over it, but
the trade deadline, there was some. There's always things to talk there, but we'll definitely do that. Talk about where the Mets are at, even though it's been a disastrous season. They did make moves at the deadline, trying to set themselves up for the future, and then we'll assess where things are at in Major League Baseball, which you have now less than 6 weeks until the end of the regular season. The postseason begins 6 weeks from yesterday. So you're 41 days away from starting the wild card round. So the baseball season is moving along. So there's a lot there. So we'll stick with those 3 leagues. I always say we might do a little hockey. We never do, but we'll cover the NFL, the NBA, and MLB in our opening episode of season 3. So why don't we get into the NBA offseason?
Yeah, we're going to start with Giannis. I mean, Giannis, one of the biggest, as I keep saying, one of the best athletes, I think, in the world, moving. Not to overstate it, but he's a great athlete. Him moving to Miami is, people were thinking for a second Boston. I don't know. It didn't feel right to me. I think obviously it didn't feel right because I'm a Knicks fan. Didn't feel right to me. But, him going to Miami felt good. He needs to, Miami's always, it's Miami. Miami's Miami. So people want to go there, especially for somebody like Giannis, who had to be stuck in Milwaukee for a long time. You know, he probably loved it there. You know, fans loved him.
Well, he won a championship there.
Yeah, and he's going to be going.
big
He's
success.
probably will get a statue there. We'll see how that goes. But
yeah, number retired.
yes, and stuff like that. I think that he'll. But going to Miami is just, you know, if you have that opportunity and you're somebody like Giannis, and you need to hit that, and I think that he did that, and Miami can go all in. I think that Pat Riley, it's been a lot of, you know, even though he's had himself a outside of just GMing I mean, he's had a great, you know, as a basketball mind, but he has been passive as the Miami Heat GM in the last few years. You know, he could have moved Tyler Hero a few years ago. He didn't. Obviously, I think that was the right move. Tyler Hero's a stud, and they moved him, you know, this year because they got Giannis, of course. You know, you're not going to hold on, but they had some players available. They could have went out and got, and they really held back. And I think it was for this moment. You know, obviously Miami didn't really have a lot of assets, but now they do. It's been a lot of drafting for them in the last few years, and just, you know, hoping to be the 8th seed, you know, come in and win the championship. Even though they are, you know, whenever they are the 8th seed, you see Miami Heat as the 8th seed, you're really scared because it's Miami, and they kind of, I mean, I know Heat culture is kind of corny, but they do that. They do that, and they're a really tough team. But I think it's time to, I mean, you're still a tough team, but I think it's time to transform this tough team for a team that's going to really contend. Like, I mean, you can be tough and contend, but there's just, okay, this 8th seed that's tough. Now you can go out here and go all in and contend. I think it goes around for the players who are around Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. I think Giannis is an amazing player, but you're going to have to put him with players around him, because even in Milwaukee with Damian Lillard around him, he couldn't succeed. He didn't. I mean, not like he couldn't succeed, but his team is stunk, and you know, but he's got to. I mean, look, the coaching is better. He's with the best coach. I think Mike Budenholzer's a great coach, but Eric Spoelstra is an amazing mind, probably the best coach he's ever been under. Not counting out Mike Budenholzer. Mike Budenholzer was great when they won that ship, but now he's under. I think that's one of the most underrated things. He's now under an amazing basketball mind, and Eric Spoelstra, who now has. I mean, he had talents before LeBron, you know, but now in this, you know, kind of 5-year stretch, he hasn't really had that talent. I mean, he has Jimmy Butler, but it's talent like Giannis Antetokounmpo is something that he can really, you know, transform. And not transform, but he can use in his system where he runs, you know, a great system. And he's a defensive mastermind as well. And you put Giannis there, I mean, it's just adding, like, I know I'm throwing mastermind out there, but it's not. He's a great coach.
He's one of the best coaches in the NBA. Yeah. You know, you could say he's the best. I mean, he's definitely one of the best. He's doing it a long time. Like you said, going back to the LeBron days in Miami and what they did there. I mean, they had immense talent, those superstars. But, you know, he's had success post LeBron. He went to the finals in 2023 as an 8 seed. As you mentioned, like they've been you know, making the playoffs each year, but you know, they haven't been a highly seeded team. So 2023 was a run, you know, so it's kind of thrown in there in the body of work for the Heat in the last several years. So it's really been a while since the Heat have been a dominant team, which goes to show like you need the talent to be dominant. I guess as good a coach as Spoelstra is, if you have a mediocre roster or a roster that's maybe slightly above average, like even a great coach like Spoelstra is not going to take a team like that to the mountaintop. You know, things aligned a little over 3 years ago now in 2023 for them being the 8th seed and getting to the finals.
And also in the bubble with Jimmy Butler getting to the NBA finals as well.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. I forgot about that because that season to me, I just erased from my mind because I just don't consider it to be.
But they haven't gotten over the mountaintop. They're
always but you're right. You're right though. They played the Lakers in 2020.
You don't want if you're the 1 seed, you probably don't want to play them. But you know you could win, but you don't. Like they've always been a team. Like if I'm the 1 seed, I don't want to play them. If I'm the 2 seed, don't want to play them as a 7. Even if I'm the 3 seed, I don't want to play them as a 6 seed. They're that type of team. Yeah. But now they're a team that will be the 3 seed, will be the 2 seed, and they can play that 7 seed. I mean, it's great. it's fun to be that tough team for a long time that could not get a 2 or 1 seed, but now that's fun. That's
that way you
now
you got to bank on going on a run. So 2020 again, the bubble, that whole
Jimmy
thing.
Butler was ridiculous. I mean that yeah.
I don't put much stock in that.
Yeah.
Just like with LeBron and Lakers winning that year, like to me, LeBron, I'll say he has 3.5 championships because that year was a joke.
Yeah.
Same thing in other sports too. Not to get into other sports like the Dodgers winning in 2020. I'm like, I'll give them like half a championship. But anyway, with the Heat,
it showed what Eric Spoelstra
there's something to
talent.
take from it. But I think what you take from it is the Heat in 2020 and then 2023, they went on big runs.
But I feel like they met their match in both. As much as you say the Lakers, whatever they met their match with LeBron.
Yeah, and they met their match with the Nuggets too.
Yes, and Jokic and Murray.
So even there, it can only go so far.
Yes,
like they showed in those finals that they weren't even close.
Yeah, they met their match with
being
LeBron
a championship
and then they met their match with Jokic and Murray. So, but now they can be that team with the 2 seed where other teams just meet their match. But I don't know. I mean,
so I think the big question is how much have the Heat improved themselves? I mean, so and I think we got to do this assessment of the East as we continue to have the conversation. So I look at it as it was pretty much a no-brainer move for the Heat to bring in Giannis. Like they needed that type of guy. Now you can say, well, Giannis is 34, right? So how many years does he have left, as a peak player, a superstar? So I think that's I think that's a good place to go. Is like, how much of a window do you think there is of Giannis being an elite player for Miami?
31, but
I thought he was 30. He's not
31. Yeah,
I had his age wrong. Oh, I thought he was 34.
But yeah, they have Wiggins, they have Bam and Adebayo. I don't know how that will work because Bam and Adebayo and Giannis both don't have. Let's just say don't have a 3-point. Giannis, I mean, but they both don't have a 3-point shot, and having that big end center that just can't stretch the floor. I mean, that's something that you look at Spoelstra and you're like, let's figure this out. But the team outside of Giannis just doesn't get me excited. But Giannis does. To be fair, if you're a Heat fan, it gets me excited to bring in Giannis. But outside of him, it's not really exciting to me. It's not really. As a Knicks fan, it's not really scary.
Well, even I was wrong. I said 34. He's 31, as Jack said. But even at 31, you're at the point now where you're either on the end of your prime or you're kind of past your prime. Like even at 31, like what's the window there? Like how many years do you have of peak or near peak Giannis? Because I kind of think like you need peak Giannis. Like even like anything under that is not going to be good enough, considering the competition that the Heat face. Yeah, you can say in the East, like the path is easier in the East than it is in the West. But in the East, like the Knicks, I mean, you can't disparage the Knicks.
No.
The Sixers now are obviously better. We'll talk how much better they are, how they're going to make it work. With their, I guess you would say, their 4 main guys. Like, there's only one ball on the court at the same time. So how do you work that? But anyway, going back to the Heat, like what's that window there do they have with a peak Giannis?
Yeah, I don't know what the window is, but I think that definitely they're going to be they're going to be a very good defensive team. Not again, I don't think I said this yet, but they're going to be a very good defensive team with Giannis and Bam. But I don't think the scoring inside of that can do it because I think teams with Giannis. I mean, again, Giannis did win with Holiday and Middleton, which Middleton was at that point. I'm not going to discredit Chris Middleton. He was an amazing scorer, but it's Chris Middleton. Like it's not like you look at superstars that have won as a number 1 scorer. They're trying to build that type of team where you could say Wiggins is that Middleton guy, but Middleton was an amazing scorer. Then you have that Holiday as a defensive point of attack person. But I still think in this day and age, you need a little bit more scoring. I don't think you can win off of that strategy because Giannis playing out of his mind because Drew Holiday is someone that you can't really replicate his winning ability if you can't find that everywhere. So you need scoring outside of Giannis. Like I'm done with this faking. Like we can win with Middleton level scoring and we can get Holiday and Middleton was a great scorer, but I think they need more scoring instead of that. They let Norman Powell go. Obviously, they had to move Tyler Hero because you're going to have to give to get at this point. Um, but you lose a lot of scoring, but you bring in Giannis, who's obviously a scorer. I mean, it's not really his name. I wouldn't call Giannis Antetokounmpo a scorer. I would call him a great basketball player, but he scores 28 a game, so it's something.
Yeah.
It's he scores, but I do think they need more perimeter shot creation outside of that. I think their defense can be outstanding, but I think you're relying on Andrew Wiggins to do a little bit too much. Andrew Wiggins, to be fair, had that great year with Golden State, but that's Golden State. That offense is something. Like that offense is easy for someone to take a step up. And like when you're with Steve Kerr, and Eric Spoelstra's a great coach as well, but I think that Steve Kerr level offense is way easier to take that step up, especially. I mean, Andrew Wiggins was playing with Steph Curry. But now he's not playing with Steph Curry, and he's asked to do a lot more. Where Andrew Wiggins was like, you know what? That's an add-on for Golden State when they won that chip with Wiggins, having that level of scoring. But now he's gonna have to do it. Like it's not like an add-on, like, oh, surprise, Wiggins, wow. But now it's gonna be like, Wiggins, we need you every night to do something. They have Bam Adebayo, who, I mean, other than his 83-point game, which ridiculous, but he's not that good of he's not that scorer. And I know it's crazy. People are gonna be like, Jack, he scored 83 points. I don't think that's conducive to what Bam Adebayo does. I think what Bam Adebayo does is his defense. I think that's what gets him in the league. I think that's what makes him an all-star. I don't know if he was an all-star last year. I don't know if he's an all-star this year, but he was an all-star, and he's an all-star level player with his defense. But his offense is questionable. And I think if you're not going to surround Giannis with scores, I think we'll talk about Philly, but they have a bunch of scorers. And I don't want to say it like obviously you get to a point where you have too many scorers, but you need a score. Like outside of your big man, who Giannis is. Giannis can do a lot more than just being a big man. Like I think talk about big men, we talk about like, the post up guys, but Giannis can do a lot more than that. But I think you need a score outside of him, which is why Milwaukee tried to bring in Damian Lillard, is because they try to get a score outside of Giannis. But now, Miami's really buying into this. We're going to win defensively because Giannis and Bam, people are trying to get to the rim. I would be scared. I would try not to get to the rim that game. Like if we're playing Miami on the court, let's see if we can try some threes, because that's a hard defense to go up against, man. It is, but I think the scoring is going to be an issue. It is, and I think I went on a rant about it, but it definitely is going to be an issue.
Well, season makes sense in the modern
Yeah.
NBA, modern basketball
I think
with
I think
the amount of scoring. But then if you look at the playoffs last year, I mean, the Knicks, the defense they played, you look at the NBA Finals, I mean, some of those games in the finals, I mean, those were low-scoring games for today's NBA. So can you make a case that maybe defense is kind of coming back a little bit?
I think at the end,
it's not what it was in the 90s.
I think at the end of the game, you need a shot and you go to that perimeter score. I think no matter how good a defensive game is, you need to score more. I think it's like it's a big elementary concept, but you need to score more points to the other team. As many defensive stops you're going to have, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make. You need
guys that can make the shots.
Yes.
In the big moments.
Yes,
and I
think that also
Miami
doesn't have Brunson and Cat. Miami has Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is ridiculous, but they don't have Brunson and Cat. Brunson and Cat are two guys that can, create. I don't think Cat can. I think Cat's a little weird because obviously he's not going to create for himself, but he can make. He's a ridiculous player. Like Karl Towns, he can create. He makes stuff happen in the court. You also have Mikal who could show up, and OG also took that step up. He became a scorer at times where he could take the ball to the rim. With Miami, I don't know who's going to take that step up. I mean, who knows? But I just don't feel like that. With the Knicks, it was a five-man roster. Not a five-man roster, a five-man lineup that, you have Brunson, you have Cat that can score. You have Mikal that can step up and score. If, you really need to, they can go out and create and get a bucket for you. Yeah. Like you saw, I'm not saying this year, but a year prior with Thibodeau as the head coach in that Boston series where Mikal was just getting in that mid-range. And when you have players like that, that's what wins. And I think that's what you talk about with Chris Middleton. When they had players like Chris Middleton that can just go create, that's when Giannis won that chip. And that's why the Knicks won that chip. also. So
then let's shift gears to the Sixers.
yeah,
Go through the Eastern Conference, the main teams. We're going to certainly get to the Knicks, and then we could put it all together with the East, and we could rank the teams or project where we think they are right now. So I think we could tie it together once we've gone through these big moves and then the best teams in the conference. So the next one, Philadelphia. Why don't we start with Jaylen Brown, because that move happened first. That happened right before the draft, right?
Yeah.
And then go to the LeBron move and tie together where Philadelphia is at. So, and then also with the Jaylen Brown move, assess that from the Boston side too, because they've been a huge factor in the East. I mean, they seem to always be to some degree, but where the Boston Celtics are now too, that seems like a dicey situation. But for now, focusing on the Philadelphia aspect of it, Brown to the Sixers.
That is something that shocked me. Obviously, having a trade with this, I think let's start with this. Having a trade with the Celtics and 76ers is, I know it isn't like a those rivalries like Celtics versus Lakers, but that's a rivalry.
Oh, it's a big rivalry.
You don't make that, you don't usually. That's why
that's not what it was, but it's a big rivalry.
Yeah, you don't want to, like the Knicks when they made a trade for Mikal when they gave him 6 first-round picks. That's what happens. Knicks don't usually make trades with the Nets, and because they did that, the Nets if you want to make a trade with me, you want this player, you're going to give up a lot.
Yeah.
But it was surprising, man. Jaylen Brown going to Sixers, but I mean, throwing that all out the window.
Did you think he was going to be moved to someone?
Yes.
It really seemed like that.
It did, but 76ers. But what the 76ers are going to get is they're going to get a guy that's a two-way scorer. And I think that the one ball on the court, I think that's something that you give to that Nets team. Not to the I think that we are going to talk about this later, but I don't Jaylen Brown's a guy that can play without the ball. I think obviously all NBA players want to have the ball in their hand and want to create, especially if you're talented like Jaylen Brown. But he can do the small stuff. Can play elite defense. Can whenever he's given the ball, get you an efficient 18 to 20 points. I mean, if he wins, he will not be it's about winning for him. I think I think Boston culture, not to say that anything, but that gets you being under those, players in Boston, it's about winning for them. I think Boston, it's about winning. You learn that in Boston. I think that people obviously have different personalities, but I think that when you're in Boston, you understand how important winning is. And I think Brown understands that going to Philly when he understands this team and the 76ers needs a win. And I think for the Celtics, it was different, but the Celtics needed to get that, they not that they needed to, but it was it was a big time shift for the Celtics.
Well, the great Celtics franchise has only won 2 championships since 1986.
Yeah, and
they have 18, but they had 16 in a short period of time early on. I mean, they won in 86, but then it was 08, and then it was 24. So that 24 championship was big for their franchise.
I think Jaylen Brown understands what it's like to win. I think that's
something. Oh, clearly. I mean, he's a championship player, a winning player.
That's something you get when you get Jaylen. I think that's not obvious, but I think that's something you get when you get Jaylen Brown. I think it's more obvious. It's something
Did the Celtics undervalue him?
Yes, but I think
there was always that tension.
It was a leverage he wanted out. There was no he had no they had no leverage. It was a terrible situation. It was a surprising situation for the Celtics. I feel like the Celtics are always a team up in the top of front office that really doesn't get leverage.
Well, the Celtics have new ownership and
that's surprising.
It seems like the ownership wanted to shed some money.
Yeah, I guess so. But on an all-star play like that, getting that, yeah.
So let's talk about the Celtics. Because there's so much more with the Sixers when we bring in LeBron into the equation. What are the Celtics doing? It seems like they're in limbo and they're headed towards being okay, the 5 seed at best in the East, but they look like a 5, 6, 7 seed in the East, maybe even having a fight to avoid the play-in tournament. They seem like they're in limbo right now. They got Paul George, right? But you got Tatum and Paul George. I mean, it looks like the Celtics they're in limbo right now. They're clearly not a serious contender for the championship. They have no chance in the East this upcoming year, right? So, I know they're frustrated up there. Celtics fans,
Well,
up in Boston and New England, like they're not happy with the trade, and they're not happy with where the Celtics are at.
It's shocking because you think after they won that chip, you think that that's Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to be there forever, like as long as they can be there. Like now, it's not like as long as they could be there. Jaylen moved off. I think that ever since they won that chip, you're like, this duo, we had questions about it, but the questions are now over. I mean, he obviously started up like the questions of the duo didn't start up, but it was like questions of Jaylen Brown wanting out. But I think the questions of the duo ended. Like, can this duo work together? Ended when they won the chip. Of course, that's the biggest level.
Yeah.
It's shocking to Blake of that. I know it's a ton of money. And I'm not the owner. I'm not any owner of a team. So I mean that money is a lot to swallow if you're up there. And I think that, if you're not gonna, and also if you think you can be a competitive basketball team and put a competitive basketball team on the court and have TD Garden excited for games, I think that's something, and you can shed your money. I think that's ownership up top. But but it's like, damn, I really thought that duo was gonna be there for a long time. And
it feels like with a duo like that, like you got to make that work. But
yeah, it's a lot of like that's a.
It clearly ran its course, and I mean, last year with Tatum being out the vast majority of the season,
and Brown was ridiculous.
And Brown carried them. I mean, he had
ridiculous.
He had an MVP like year. But the Celtics, I think it's now unraveled for them. And then if you look at the recent history of the Celtics, like I think you could overrate their success. So what I mean by that is you go back to 2022, they made the NBA Finals. They're up 2-1 in that series against Golden State. They wind up losing in 6.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
2023, they should have had a clear path to the finals. They get to the ECF. They fall behind 3-0 against 8 seed Miami.
Yeah.
They then win the next 3. They get Game 7 at home, and they get blitzed in Game 7. 2024, then, they did win the championship, and a title's a title, but they had an absolute cakewalk.
Well, I would still say Jaylen Brown
to the NBA Finals.
I would say you could say this, but I still think that Jaylen Brown, you can call him a winner, and I think he knows how to win.
Oh, he's definitely a winner.
Like I think that, but what you're saying is different. I'm just saying,
and they won a championship, but with those two guys, obviously it's not a guarantee. What happened there?
I don't even know.
Balloons. With those two guys, I thought it was when I went like this. With Tatum and Brown, the expectation is not to just win a championship; it's to win multiple championships.
They were,
or at least be a serious contender year in and year out for a long time, for championships.
Yeah.
So they massively fell short of that. They win the title in 2024. And in 2025, when they're massive favorites against the Knicks, lots of credit to the Knicks. Like I think it was about how well the Knicks played and their resilience. The Knicks were excellent in that series.
Hindsight's 2020, and the Knicks played an amazing game, and then came back in 2020, played an amazing series, and came back in 2026 and won the chip. So I think hindsight's 2020. That's a great team Celtics played against, but the Knicks were new in 2026. I think that's a new Celtics still losing. I mean, you'll say.
From a Celtics perspective, from the Knicks perspective, the Knicks played really well. They deserve tons of credit for winning that series. The resilience of coming back in Game 1 and 2, right? We can rehash the whole series.
Yeah.
But from a Celtics perspective, when you go in, I think they went in as like -800 or -900 favorites. Massive favorites. You lose that series. So that season was a massive failure. Like not even a massive disappointment, a massive failure. Tatum gets hurt in Game 4 at the end of Game 4 in that series, doesn't come back until, I guess, March of this past season. And then Brown carries them through the regular season. They have a really good regular season, get the 2 seed, right? Tatum comes back with like 20 games left. They go into the playoffs. They're up 3-1 against Philadelphia. And they didn't play well in the first 4 games. Like they were up 3-1. I would say, you know a lot better than me. But like I would say they're up 3-1 because they're playing Philly. But then all of a sudden,
because then you see what they did in the second round. You see what Philly did in the second round. Yeah.
Right. You see what Philly, and again, second round, much credit to the Knicks.
Yeah.
But you see you knew what Philly was. But then, second round, they're absolutely exposed.
I mean, Knicks won the chip, but that's it's like still. I mean, you see what Philly really. I mean, it's hard to say because the Knicks won the chip, and like, you know what, maybe they were just victims of it. But like losing 4-0 is like, you know, ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
not a lot of teams beat teams 4-0.
And it wasn't only 4-0. It was just total
Yeah.
domination.
Yeah.
It was one of the most dominant performances in a playoff series ever. But again, back to the Celtics, like they then in this year out in the first round, losing 7 games, lose another game 7 at home like they did in 2023. So again, with this tandem that they had, they massively fell
It
short
only got you so far, and
of the expectations.
well, then you can
and now
yeah.
where are they at? I
Well,
mean, they're in limbo.
Well, then you can see the owner looking up and be like, "Yo, it's been like 2 years, 3 years, and we're Boston here." Like I know, like 2 years, 3 years after, you know, Milwaukee went to chip, they're still probably popping champagne and stuff. But Boston's like, we need to win. But I think with other franchises, like, you know, 2-3 years after winning chip, let's still get some champagne. But now with Boston, like, yo, it's time. Like and also I think it does, you know, the owners are looking up at the money and being like, look, I mean, like I think we still think that duo can win us another chip, but like, are we really, like, do we want to put in money to that to like throw a dart at the board and think that maybe New York still beats them and we're looking at that money? Let's just try to make a move and maybe make the 5th seed. I see that as an owner. I just don't see that as a, you know, like I think as a normal, like not Boston, like if that's Milwaukee making that move, or I hate to pick on Milwaukee right now, but if that's Milwaukee making that move, okay, whatever. Like, you know, they want to just shed money, but it's Boston.
It's
man.
much different when it's Boston or it's the Lakers or
like,
the Knicks were in that situation. Yeah, it's a much different thing. So, you know, again with the Celtics, I mean, they're in limbo here and there now.
Yeah, I understand like the process of it. Like I understand like we're not seeing success at the top with not seeing success. We haven't seen success in like 2 years, which sounds crazy, but with that money, you want to get instant success. When you're paying those guys that much, you want to get instant success, at least better than what they've had, how they've gone out in the last few years, ever since that chip. Like I think when you pay stars that much money, you want to see some instant success, and also you don't want to go out like you don't want to go out on the front page. Like you want to go out.
I feel like for the Celtics, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Like this upcoming season, like they'll be a playoff team, you would think. But again, like they could be on that fringe of trying to avoid the play-in tournament.
Tatum full year, we'll see. I mean, again,
I don't think it's a guarantee they finish in the top 6.
I think we forget how good Tatum is, but and also they still have 30. Like I mean, again, Jaylen Brown carried them, but still, I mean, Payne Pritchard had a good year. You see Derek White had a down year. See if he can get himself.
Well, what's Tatum going to be without Brown?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Brown was the Finals MVP. But again,
you could say a lot of their losses to New York was, I mean, more than just the 3-point shooting. They were just, you know, my turn, your turn. Now it's just maybe. I mean, not saying it's going to be better, but maybe now it's like, you know. And especially you see with Brown on his own. I think now Tatum on his own, because it was
it just seemed those two together.
The way they lost more than just like I think obviously we talk about the 3-point shooting and them just jumping up threes, which we've hit on that. But I think a lot of your turn, my turn with the stars. I think Tatum's gonna have one of his best years. Just like how Brown had one of his best years last year without Tatum, and not saying those guys aren't like
that makes sense, but they don't have enough to seriously compete in the East.
So
he'll put up the numbers this year, you know, and have a great year, probably a really good year. But
with Brown also, he put up those numbers and fumbled. Like he fumbled in the playoffs. Like you know, that's what happens sometimes. Like it does. Like when the playoffs starts, you know, it's easy to put up numbers. I mean, not easy. Whoa. But it's not numbers like I'm going to take that back because what Jaylen Brown put up in the regular season was impressive. But it's kind of, you know, to put up those numbers in the regular season is okay, but when it's time to play, but when you're in a city like Boston, playoffs is what really matters. Obviously, it's impressive to get yourself into that seed. As a team, kind of thinking it's on the bridge year without Tatum. You know, maybe we'll get him back, maybe we won't. Like it's impressive, obviously, but I think when you're at a city with Boston, being impressive in the regular season. Yeah, they're going to give you a round of applause, standing ovation, but they're not going to pop champagne for you. Like I think that they're going to just
their seam wound up being a massive disappointment because going in it was
you know, impressive. Jaylen Brown's ridiculous. I mean, we knew that Jaylen Brown had that stuff in him. I don't think we knew he was going to be MVP candidate, but we knew he had some stuff in him. We knew he was a star. Obviously, there has been, critiques about him in playoff times with his ball handling, with his left hand dribbling, and critiques about him. But we know that, he's a downhill force. He's strong and get downhill. I know, obviously, it's ironic when we say that Celtics take up a lot of threes, but he gets downhill at a high level. He's a very good downhill scorer. He's the definition of a 3-level scorer. That's all I'll say with Jaylen Brown. So
let's tie that back into the Sixers, like what he's going to
Yeah.
mean to the Sixers, which I think it's clear he
you
makes
get yourself
them-
a 3-level scorer. That's not me. I think that he just was done with Boston. Like, he's in a place where now he can really. I mean, look, Philly right now, you're in a better place to succeed than you are in Boston. Boston, throw them, and you're with Tyrese Maxey, a young, exciting guard. You're next to him. You can teach him something. I know Jaylen Brown's also, not like old, not a mentor age, but I think he could teach Tyrese Maxey a thing or two. I think that they're two different players, but I think that Maxey's like a fast player, while Jaylen Brown's a slow, methodical scorer. I mean, sometimes he can be quick. He's a quick player, but he fits well. He's one ball, but I think he fits well with Maxey. He's a defensive player. Tyrese Maxey's a small guard. As much as these Kentucky guards, they're coached really well. They give it their all defensively. Like, these Kentucky guards, they teach them well in college. They teach them that, like, I think I talked about with Quickly with the Knicks. I think that too, with how he played that defense. He was small. He wasn't gifted defensively, but he gave it his all. Maxey gives it all, but again, he's like small, and you need somebody next to him that really can defend the heck out of the basketball, and that's what Jaylen Brown's is. And also, we talked about him being a 3-level scorer, but he's not like a high. I think when you get somebody from Boston, they're usually team players. Like, when you get someone from there, especially after he won that chip, he understands what it's like to be a team player. Especially playing with Tatum for a long time, as much as he probably didn't like it in the last few years. But I think that he overall enjoyed his time playing with Jason Tatum, and I think he now can have that kind of impact with Maxey.
So let's bring LeBron into the equation. So
Yeah,
what does he bring to the table for the Sixers? And then do you think it could work with that big four there with LeBron and Brown and Maxey and Embiid? Embiid's health is always a big factor.
Yeah.
So those four together, like, how do you envision that working? And then can they have big success? Obviously, there's immense talent amongst those four, but can they make this work? Can they make this work where they have big success? However you want to define big success.
I'm gonna defend this team a lot, because I think when people say they have one ball, I think that's what people get from when.
I just throw it out there, like maybe
Yeah.
it does work, but I think it's a legitimate question.
Yes, it is a legitimate question.
entertain.
But yes, it is an it's a legitimate question. But I'm saying that, like, when you bring up, there's one ball, you bring it up when you have Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. Those are three ISO scorers that those are scores that are get me out of the way. Not get me out of the way, get everyone else out of the way and let me go to work. I think Brown's also like that, but not really. Like, he can play off the catch, he can attack closeouts, he can do stuff that, not like he's a role player, but he can do stuff that role players do. Not saying you don't want to be, you obviously don't want a guy to be a role player, but he can play off the catch. He can take spot up threes. I think same thing with Maxey. Maxey's played with, he's played with Embiid, played off of Embiid. Whenever Embiid's healthy, he's played off of Embiid. He can play off of players. He's not like, I don't think I look at him like he's a very humble guy. He actually played with James Harden. I think that, like, he's played with guys that are ball dominant. He's played with Harden. He's fast. I think he's a transition scorer. So, LeBron's not gonna. LeBron, he's fast, but I think that Tyrese Maxey will be the guy in transition, will be the guy showing the offense, and he's just, a very passive guy to a fault. I think it last this year in the playoffs, he really was a passive guy to a fault because the Knicks took advantage of them. Obviously, they would have won anyway, but I think Maxey could have had a bigger impact on that series. Definitely, with the way the Knicks match up with Maxey. Maxey is a fast guard, and the Knicks, have a little trouble guarding him, but he was a passive to a fault. But I think Maxey's a making the extra pass type guy. As much as he's a scorer and he gives it his all every night, and he wants to win. I think these Philly guys like Maxey, they're tired of getting to the playoffs and especially how he got smoked out by New York. He'll do anything to get back.
Do they have depth pieces that can contribute? Because you're gonna need something beyond these big four.
Like, I think
What's the rest of their roster look like?
Anthony Simons they picked up. They have VJ Edgecombe starting as well. Who, look, he's young and he's gonna probably start too. But he's very young. He'll learn. He's a ton of people to learn from. It's insane. But he's there. I think that their depth is a problem. That's definitely where you're gonna take advantage of them. I think with New York when they won the chip, their depth was outstanding. We talk about it, and with a lot of these teams that have won championships, and I think Philadelphia, we got to put them in that thing now where they can possibly win a championship. We got to put them up against other. I know it's kind of premature, but we got to put them up against other championship teams. I think you earn that right when you bring.
They're in the conversation, and I think we should come to that after we talk about a few other things. But they should be in that conversation.
But Anthony Simons, he's a good scorer. I think at times he's great, but I think he's a good scorer. He doesn't play defense very well, but they lose. They lose Andre Drummond, which is just the Knicks have him, but it's like kind of whatever for them. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can do stuff. He can come off the bench, can shoot some threes, can play defense. But again, when you bring in that starting five in today's NBA, something's gonna be wrong. Like something's gonna be wrong at the bottom of your depth chart, or not depth chart. Depth. There's something gonna be wrong at the bottom of your rotation, especially with all the money restrictions and you can't go over this, whatever. When you get that starting five, something's gonna be up with that bottom of the roster, and Anthony Simons is probably, and KCP is probably it for them off that bench that I trust. You have players that I don't really want to. I don't think that matters if I bring them up, but they just have, and they also had a problem with their depth as well last year, and their team also wasn't good at all. Not good, but wasn't good compared to this. Wasn't good compared to this team. So depth is a problem in Philly. But I think there's I'm not going to try to rain on their parade. It's amazing. It's good times in Philadelphia.
They're in the mix now. They definitely should be in the conversation in the East. A contender in the East, a challenger to the Knicks. They certainly deserve that. How good they're going to be, it's not easy to predict. There seems to be a pretty high ceiling, but I wonder exactly how high that ceiling is. Like even LeBron, he's going to be 42.
Yeah.
In a few months. So
player,
he's still going to be really good. So you could talk about his window. Like how many years does he have left?
Probably one.
Do they
1, 2? Yeah.
Do they need this year to really put this thing together? I kind of think it's
we got to go at the.
This isn't going to be the year for them. They're going to need a full year to put this together and make it work. I don't know, maybe by playoff time, they're geared up and ready to go. But I think that's a lot to ask. So I kind of look at this as a 2-year window because again, LeBron is going to be 42, and then the next year he'll be 43. So they gotta make this happen really quick. And I don't know. I'm not saying they can't, but I don't know that they could put it all together where this is the year, that they get to the NBA Finals.
Well, look,
they could go up against the Knicks, and we'll talk about the rest of these too. They're the teams that factor in there. I don't know. I'm not ruling out, but I think it's a lot to ask.
Well, look, Philadelphia championship window in basketball. It's been a it's been a long time since we've actually been a hell of a long time since we've talked about championship windows in Philly. I don't even think we've talked about it, but given they have a shot, and I think that's what every fan base needs. They have a shot to win it all. Like, and I think that's obviously with Philly, that's not enough. I think that fan base is starved. I think that's what I've said about when the Knicks started. Not trying to really compare them to the Knicks, but when the Knicks started, getting going, I think just having a shot, like having a championship window, is
yeah. Well, the Sixers have a one since '83, so it's
Yeah.
not as long as the Knicks drought, but it's 10 years less.
Yeah,
Like it's a long
and
drought.
also Philly. I mean, Philly's Philly. I think they it's just like New York's New York. I mean, it's a big city and they're hungry. And that championship route might not be as long as New York, but it's long. It's long.
So then why don't we bring the Knicks into the equation? So it wasn't a big offseason.
No.
Mitchell Robinson went to the Celtics, but it's fair to say the Knicks are basically running it back. Like it's not 100% running it back, but they're running it back. What do you think?
I'm excited. I mean, I didn't expect the Knicks to do really anything this offseason. They bring in Drummond. They lost Mitchell Robinson. That's probably about it. They bring back Landry Shamet, which that was impressive. They did. And they kept that depth. I think a lot of teams, we talk about Philly with their starting five, their depth isn't good. And the Knicks have a really deep team. You talk about Jose Alvarado. You talk about, Jordan Clarkson's a little older, but, still get you a bucket or two if you put him in. Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, spot-up shooter, can do a lot. Landry Shamet. Cole can take a step up. I think the Knicks have guys, and you have Drummond, of course. But yeah, New York is running it back, and I'm excited. I'm happy. It's exciting times again in New York. They have the same roster. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're the guys with the target on their back. I mean, in New York always has a target on their back, but now they won the championship, and now teams are coming out to take that from them. And you bring in a guy like Drummond, you lose Mitchell Robinson. Again, I'm not mad the Knicks lost Mitchell Robinson. I'm sad, obviously, because he's been with the Knicks for a long time. But again, the Celtics paid him like a starting center, and I don't think the Knicks were going to use him like a starting center because they have, of course, Towns. So that just isn't a smart way to spend your money if you're New York, is to pay him like a starting center. So let the Celtics do it, because obviously they have money to spend after they, let go of Jaylen Brown. So there's their financial flexibility. When they lose their all-star, they freaking go out and get Mitchell Robinson. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Knicks were going to pay him like a starting center. He's for their backup center, and now they bring in Andre Drummond, who can, like face value, he does most of the things Mitchell Robinson does, but I think Mitchell Robinson on the eye test can do a lot more with his mobility, with his, rebounding, changing games with his rebounding as well. I think he had the biggest rebound in New York Knicks history. Actually, whoa. I don't know. You call that tipping from OG. I don't know if but that rebound to seal the championship, that's one of the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest rebounds in New York history. From Mitchell Robinson, like his rebounds change games. I think that's like his rebounds really change games. With Andre Drummond, he used to be a guy where he got a bunch of rebounds, but now, I mean, he's still a rebounder. You don't really lose that kind of, but you lose the mobility and you lose the, ability to get game-changing rebounds. And that's what Andre Drummond really hasn't been able to do. But he's a fine backup, backed up people like Joel Embiid. So, I mean, not saying Joel Embiid's like Towns, but again, they're both two. I mean, with Embiid, let's be honest, with Embiid as health star player, Towns star player, backing up star players, I think a veteran is perfect for this. I think a veteran understands what to do. I think if you bring in a guy that's young, it's hard to really understand their role. Andre Drummond understands his role. Keep it afloat. When you're in the game, Towns is probably out the game, so that's a star off the court. So just keep your head above water, keep the Knicks above water, and give Towns time to rest. Especially, it's such a huge spot. Like being Towns' backup's huge because we talk about as much as the Knicks won the chip and we're happy. I mean, it's really with Towns, his fouls are something. Like when he fouls a lot, you need to back up big to come in. So this is a big spot. Drummond is a guy that understands what he has to do. A New York native. It is what it is. Great guy. Not expecting a lot, but expecting him to just understand his role. I think that's what you do when you bring in veterans. And the Knicks are a team that can bring in veterans.
So we just talked about the Knicks, we talked about the Sixers, we talked about Miami. So those are three teams that I think everybody identifies as a contender in the Eastern Conference to one degree or another.
Yeah.
I think we identified the Celtics as a non-contender this year, the way they're going. So then, are there any other teams in the East that you would say are a contender to win the East? A reasonable shot to win the East, not a long shot like they got to go on some,
Detroit again.
miracle run. So is Detroit in? Is Detroit?
I would say
mix?
it's not a long shot. I would just say again, can Jalen Duren have he had awful playoffs, by the way. The guy really lost himself money, but he can have another great regular season, and I do think the Pistons got some shooting that bring in Isaiah Joe, bring in they still have Duncan Robinson. They bring him in, they still have him. They bring in John Collins, but the Pistons are a good team, and they have a shot to win the East. I would say it's not a long shot, but they have a shot to win the East. No. Yeah, I think that would be about it. I think you have Detroit, you have New York, and you have Philly.
Cleveland's not serious, right?
No, I looked at them. Maybe. I mean, look, Cleveland always has this regular season. So if we're talking regular season, maybe because they always had those regular seasons. So if we're gonna just talk regular season here, you're talking.
Well, they'll probably have another good regular season, but they're not a serious contender in the playoffs. Last year they went to the ECF, but Detroit really had a very disappointing playoffs, and maybe that helps them going forward. To fall short like that, like maybe there's growth that happened there. We got to hope if you're a Detroit fan that's what happened. But the Cavaliers, I guess it's every year we say the same thing. Like you can't really take them seriously because they get to the ECF and then they absolutely embarrass themselves against the Knicks. They just get blitzed. Atlanta, anything there? I mean, they did have a 2 games to 1 lead against the Knicks. They played them the best. They played the Knicks best of anybody in the playoffs, but then the last 3 games they got absolutely destroyed.
They bring in Lou Dort. Lou Dort has that championship DNA, but I don't think they're gonna really. I don't think they can win the East, but I think they're gonna make the playoffs. As I say, Jalen Johnson is another year of him. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels, CJ McCollum, Onyeka Okongwu. Like you have another year from Onyeka Okongwu being that starting big. He sat behind Capella for a lot of years, so he gets another full year being a starting big. We'll see what that does. And you also bring in Lou Dort as well off that bench. So, and we talk about Lou Dort. Lou Dort is a ridiculous defender. So
I think I know the answer to this. So let's wrap the NBA talk with this. I think I know the answer. Top team in the East going into the season?
New York.
Figured that.
Yeah,
I'll go with you on that. I don't think any of these teams.
They're good. They're really good. But I think that
did enough to certainly surpass the Knicks.
The East is better, definitely.
Or even
the East is better
beyond their level.
Philly, you look at
Philly obviously did a lot, but I still think Philly's a bit short.
Detroit's back
of the Knicks
to do something.
Who's number 2?
What?
Who's number 2 in the East?
I would. You know what? I would say my prediction right now is Detroit gets 2 and Philly gets 3. Or, I wouldn't be surprised if Philly got 2, but I think Philly gets 3, Detroit gets 2. Because you say there's going to be a season of kind of,
and Detroit had a great regular season last year.
And third seed's not that bad of a season that you're just going to try to get out the kinks with that new team. Like getting the 3rd seed and having that season.
I like that. I'm with you. I would go Detroit 2, Philly 3, particularly for the regular season.
Yeah.
And then Miami's 4.
Yeah, and then I think Cleveland's 4 and Miami's 5, and I think Miami
could be.
Yeah.
But the Knicks go into the season as the favorite in the East.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the West maybe
Well, I
next
think
time.
obviously, but yeah, I think they do go in as the favorite of the East, and Philly did a lot, but I don't think they. There's you have to do something, and Philly did do stuff ridiculous, but you have to do something ridiculous to kind of get in there and be the odds favorite over the chip. I mean, over the team that won the chip.
Yeah, they obviously did a lot and made their team significantly better, but I don't think they should be the favorite in the East. And I don't think they should be viewed as on par with the Knicks. I mean, they're not far off from the Knicks, but I think the Knicks are the favorite going to the season.
Yeah.
So we just talked a lot about the NBA, the offseason, the Eastern Conference. All right, we'll see the Knicks now go in as, like you said, they are the hunted, right, as they won their first championship in 53 years, all the excitement with that. Again, it seems like yesterday we were talking about that. In the last episode that we did to end season 2. All right, so our season 3 opener will continue on, and NFL. It's football season, training camp. It's the preseason. You got week 2 of the preseason games coming up. The Giants and Jets both had a game this past weekend. The Giants lost to the Vikings. The Jets lost to the Bucks. Not that you care about results of preseason games. The wins, losses don't matter anything.
Where you just pray for health.
But
basically, you pray that everyone gets out of there healthy.
Yeah, definitely health. But I think there's things to talk about there, and some things to take from these games. Not much, but there's some. And just the overall training camp, and as we lead to the kickoff of the 2026 season, which is now 3 weeks away. Again, Patriots Seahawks kicks it off Wednesday night, September 9th. The Giants open with the Cowboys Sunday night, September 13th.
Yeah.
At MetLife Stadium. The Jets are opening against the Titans on the road on Sunday afternoon, September 13th. So why don't we talk about the local teams first? We can start with the Giants and go to the Jets, and then give an overview of the NFL, who we think the top contenders are, and just, kind of set up where things are as we head towards kicking off this season. All right? And then we'll do our official preview and predictions in our upcoming shows. But today, more general. Again, start with the local teams and then bouncing around the league a bit as well. So, Jack, the New York Giants, a new era with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You got Dart in his second year. What do you think?
I'm excited. I mean, that's the only word I would use. I'm excited. I think you go in there. You have the running back duo of Scadaboo and Tracy ready to go. I think that's something. The Giants are going to be a team that wants to run the ball this year. They're going to be a big time run the ball team. They have got. I mean, of course, they have Malik Neighbors, which is obviously going to really put a wrench in that a little tiny bit, because Malik Neighbors is a ridiculous guy when healthy. Of course, we'll see how that really goes. And you also have Dart that can take the ball and scramble. So it adds to that run game. The Giants are going to be a fun football team. You got a fun quarterback, but you also you don't just have a fun quarterback. I think that's something that you don't want to just say, because sometimes Jameis Winston's a fun quarterback. They have a fun quarterback that is going to be there for a long time. Franchise fun quarterback, and right now Jackson Dart is getting out the kinks. He got out the kinks last year, and this year he's going to lock in. Look to lock in again. Still young, mistakes are going to happen. Not going to really harp on mistakes are just going to happen. Still, I mean, he got the kinks out last year.
Any concern about a sophomore slump, or you think he's going to take the next steps here?
Also, he got thrown in last year, so
yeah, it was a third or fourth game.
So I think there's still. I think that sophomore slump. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that he might have a sophomore slump in throwing the ball, with the ball throwing, but I think that he still has that ability to take off and run, which is something that, and I don't know about the history of sophomore slumps, but I think that if you can take off and run, and you have an ability to use yourself in the run game, that kind of can negate a little bit of this sophomore slump. Not that he can have a sophomore slump, but I think that a sophomore slump will look better because he can do stuff on the ground and can help that run game. And the Giants also, John Harbaugh, I mean, it's going to be a lot of running either way, so that can really also negate the sophomore slump. Even though if he has it, it might not look as bad because Harbaugh is going to just be like, okay, You know what, Dart, you're a great player. You're not having a good few games. Let's run this ball. That's what I do best. That's what we want to do right now, and let's move the ball. So the Giants have ways that aren't just going to rely on Dart to move the ball. And I don't think they can rely on Dart to move the ball because again, he's a great quarterback, but he's not he's not.
He's not elite.
Yes,
at least yet.
You can't be like, oh, he's not going to be like, yeah, like, okay, get on the ride. I'm gonna take you to the end zone. No, it's still gonna be a full team effort. Even though Dart's great, but it's gonna still be a full team effort. So if Dart has a sophomore slump, the Giants have built a team around him with running the football. They can, and they have a very good O-line. I mean, not a very good O-line, but they had a good O-line last year. And I think that Harbaugh bringing himself another good O-line this year.
So how about the defensive side of the ball?
The defense, I'm excited for the rush and the passer aspect. I mean, the secondary is something. It's it can get exposed, but I think I'm excited for the blitzes. Giants have just athletes on that line. I think Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, those are just, and then you also have Arvell Reese, athlete. Yeah, you bring in DJ Reader, so you have guys that can rush the pass. Now again, the DBs. Paul Debo didn't have a good season last year. You use Greg Newsome. You bring in Deontay Banks. Javon Holland. He's good, but he's not going to save you. The Giants need to kind of protect that secondary because the secondary is rough, but they can rush the passer with the best of them, and I'm excited.
So, what's your expectations for the Giants this year? I mean, there's no question there's a lot of excitement. I think if a Giant fan wasn't excited, I don't understand how they wouldn't be. I mean, there's a lot in place here to be excited about and to be optimistic about. I mean, you bring in a coach like Harbaugh. I mean, right there, it's a major game changer. You got a guy who looks like a franchise quarterback, as you broke it down with the personnel on the offense, some of the personnel on the defense. There's certainly pieces there, there's certainly talent there, but what's your expectation? What is a realistic goal for the Giants this year? And what's their ceiling?
Well, I think the goal outside of how many games you're going to win is just have, when you're at home, I want my fans to have fun. I want my fans to be engaged. I think that's the big thing. And I think that team, this offense does that. And if you're not engaged, then the offense is playing pretty bad. So that's the kind of the goal with keeping that. It's been years. I mean, a lot of when you see the Cowboys come in town, the Cowboys get out and they score a lot of touchdowns. They do the thing. You'll hear "Let's go Cowboys" chants. I think that the goal. I know it's a low bar, but the goal is just get that stuff out of there. You should be proud of the Giants team. You shouldn't let other teams come in there, even if they are the Cowboys, the Commanders, even when the Rams come to town. I mean, when the Cali teams come to town, just have pride and give your fans to have pride in the team. So and that comes with, I think, my goal of the Giants at least winning 7 games. So, and also the fans, being in the game as well. I think that's what you want too. If you're a Harbaugh,
You think there's a chance at the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there is. There's a chance. It's not a long shot.
And what did they win? 4 games last year?
Yeah, but but yeah. I mean, when you win 4 games, fans aren't going to be there. I think
and 4 with that gauntlet of a schedule last year. That schedule was brutal.
Yeah.
You say 7. I mean, is that enough? Is that enough of a jump? 4 to 7?
I don't know. It depends. It depends on what you see. The eye test, you could win 7 games, and you think Jackson Dart had another great season.
Yeah,
and
not all 7 wins or any win total, like not all, like just say 7-win seasons, like they're not all created equal.
Well, because then again,
Like-
you look at the Panthers and how they built it up with their 7-win seasons. They have the 8-win seasons. Like, not all 8-win seasons are created equally. Not all.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it ultimately
you
comes
look at
down to
the-
wins, but you could be 7-10 and you're competitive in every single game, or you're 7-10 and there's like 4 or 5 games that you
Well,
got
yeah,
blitzed
and you're only beating teams
Yeah.
like.
So you're right. It depends on it really does depend on the body. Of
Like
work.
I do think I understand what you're saying, 4-7, and especially with that 4 wins coming on a gauntlet schedule. But
I will have to take a look at the schedule, which we won't do today, but we'll go through the schedule. So that's a part of it too. And maybe I'm nitpicking here, but I would bump it to 8. I just feel like 8 is like, all right, you're almost at 500. There's no more 500 in the NFL because they play an odd number. They play 17. You used to have 16. So like, oh, you wait 8 and 8. Like 8 and 9 is like, all right, like you're in that 500 window.
yeah,
So I would just, you can say I'm nitpicking. I would just bump it to that.
Yeah.
Like I expect there to be a lot of progress with the Giants
Yeah.
this year. They should make a big leap, and I think you could say going 4 to 8 wins is a significant leap and would be a successful season.
Well, I think even I said with the sophomore slump with Dart, I think you have the personnel around him to not. I mean, obviously, if Dart's going to have a bad season, you're going to be losing games. Like that is what it is. It's a quarterback. You're going to lose games. But I think they built enough team around him where if he has a bad 1 or 2 games and it's like that, like it's valid. Like you're playing against a great defense and that really rushes the passer well, and Dart just isn't feeling it. I think obviously like you want him to be a guy that can step up when you have a good rushing defense and step up and make those throws and impress. But you had that. But if Dart's gonna have a bad season, Giants are gonna lose games. That is what it is.
So outside of a massive amount of injuries, because that could derail any team. Like the Giants have a massive amount of injuries, they could go 4-13 again.
Yeah.
But outside of that, do you have any fear that they could have a disastrous season where like they go 4-5 wins? Or do you say, nah, as long as they avoid a rash of injuries, you're gonna have some injuries, but as long as they avoid a massive amount of injuries, they should win 7-8 games. Do you have any fear of a disastrous season outside of it?
Well, I think it's the receiving core outside of Malik Neighbors is what I'm scared about. I am. Like Darnell Mooney is a good player and that stuff like that. But outside of Malik Neighbors, it's if also Malik Neighbors is going to come back and he's a decent receiver, but that's your wide receiver 1. I don't know. I'm because again the Giants are going to be a run heavy team. You still need receivers. Like you look at the Ravens that are a run heavy team. Jay Flowers is not a ridiculous receiver, but he's a good receiver. Like if you're going to be a run heavy team, you still need receivers that can make plays. So no matter what scheme you're running, you need you can't escape it.
To answer my own question, I don't see the Giants having that disaster season. I think the Giants are in the best position they've been in.
Well, I think it depends on the coach.
In a long time.
I don't see Harbaugh as a guy that would have a disappointing season. I don't know. I mean
Harbaugh's not an all-time great coach, but he's a really good coach. He has tons of credibility. Like I think just him being there now, him being their coach, they're not going to have a disastrous season. And you broke down the roster. Like there's enough there for them to be a competitive team this year. So again, outside of a massive amount of injuries, I don't see a disaster for the Giants. I see the Giants having a season of progress. I did ask you before, like any chance of the playoffs. Like it seems like probably not a playoff team, but like in the division, this will be the last part about the Giants. Like in the division, like the Eagles are the favorite, but then the Cowboys, it's another year with the Cowboys. Oh, the Cowboys, like they're gonna be very good.
They could definitely steal a game from the Giants. Like there's another year they have CeeDee Lamb. They now bring back George Pickett. So they have that 2 wide receiver duo. That's, we'll talk about that another time. But I mean, again, we keep saying the Cowboys, but let's just say that they're. I don't care about the playoffs. I don't care about anything. But when it comes to the regular season,
can the Giants finish in second in the division?
Yes, I believe they can. I believe
agree.
they will. But I do think that again.
I don't know if I think they will, but I think they can.
No, but I think that the Cowboys And as much as we don't want to give the Cowboys credit because we don't give the Cowboys always but they can definitely.
I just think
they can have a good year.
They never deserve the benefit of the doubt.
They don't, but they can have a good year. Like they have Dak, they have Pickens, they have CeeDee Lamb.
Honestly, the Cowboys will probably finish ahead of the Giants, but I think the Giants can finish ahead.
And also the Cowboys are going to.
I don't think the Giants will finish ahead of the Eagles, but they can finish ahead of Dallas, and they should finish ahead of Washington.
Yeah.
Do you have any worry that they finish in last place in the division? I think that would, regardless of record, I think finishing last in the division would be a major disappointment.
Well, it depends on how well Washington bounces back. I mean, again, if Washington has a bounce back year where Jaden Daniels looks good and, again, finishing 4 sucks, but, the NFCs could be.
I feel like that's a big thing, though, because even though, you could go 7-10 and finish in last, but you also have to see where you stack up against your competition, particularly in your division. So I think it would be disappointing to finish in last in the division.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a lot to look forward to with the Giants. If you're a fan of the Giants, I had cautious optimism.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that Giants fans should be going in optimistic, excited, and I think they are. So then shifting gear to the New York Jets. It should be better this year, right?
They can only go up from here, but
it should be better. But I don't rule out another disaster because I don't think you ever can rule it out with the Jets. Well, I think with the Giants, it's not going to be a disaster unless they have a rash of injuries. But the Jets, again, it should be better. But I'd say I first and foremost focus on the coach. I don't think we know still what he is as a coach. I at the end of last year, and I'm I don't know if he should be back. To have a year that bad, you usually don't fire someone after one season, but it was so bad that you could argue that they should have went in a direction. They didn't. I don't think it's egregious they didn't. And I'm not ruling out that Aaron Glenn turns into a pretty good or a good head coach, but it's just you just don't know. I could see him being a disaster again, because he was a disaster last year. I could also see him growing in the job and being better, but I don't know. They should be better, but they're still going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
So it's you got to see the progress this year. But for them, it's all about the 2027 draft in a way.
Yeah.
I know that's not fair. That's not really true. But it's but what are they have no chance to contend for a playoff spot. So it's another year where the Jets are not contenders. And you're waiting. You're another year of we got to see the progress, and they had a bunch of draft picks and there's optimism there. But then let's see these guys on the field.
Yeah.
And then how is Aaron Glenn and his staff going to put this all together and get the most out of the roster? So it's I think there's some reason to be optimistic that this will be a year of progress. And if you want to quantify that by wins, last year was 3-14. For the Jets, I don't know. It's with 6-11.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe 6 wins. It sounds terrible.
But then you're keeping yourself from drafting high. But they can't have another 3-14.
No, because that's bad.
There has to be progress.
In a New York media, that just is bad. Obviously it's bad everywhere, but in a media like New York, you obviously don't want to because then
But they
then
also
you have a whole head coach shuffle, and maybe you want Aaron Glenn to be good. If they win 6 games and Aaron Glenn looks like a good head coach, not a good head coach, but looks like a head coach that, how many times do you really want to make a shuffle with that head coach? If you don't have to, why do you? At this point with the Jets, if you don't have to,
well, he's on the hot seat.
He is, but if you don't have to,
if
you don't have to make it switched, then why?
Well, the Jets got to really hope that.
Yeah.
He progresses as a head coach, so they don't have to make another change.
Because that you obviously don't want to make if you don't have to, you don't want to make another change because again, you bring in this rookie class, you don't want them to just have a different coach next year. You want to have some continuity, especially Like if you want to,
Yeah, because then those rookies for 2027, if you get a new head coach, well, then they got to start that season. You're starting almost all over again, right?
Yeah.
Like with another head coach coming in and a new system and all that. So this is a huge year for the Jets franchise. I mean, there has to be progress and development. You got to see something this year. Again, they're not a contender for the playoffs. I guess you could say like a 6-win season.
it just can't be historically. It just can't be terrible.
It can't be another disaster.
Yes, it can't be a disaster. Like, and you don't want it to be, because then you have to. And then it's going to be so hard next season. You have to do it all over again with a new head coach, and you have to find yourself a new quarterback. Because Geno Smith, if you do play bad, and Geno Smith is going to be probably gone, you don't really need him. If you have a bad
Yeah, I mean, he's just a stopgap, but he should make them better this year.
Well, again,
the quarterback situation is a lot better than last year.
You need to get a new QB next year, either way. But
he's just a
then you have to get a new coach
season.
and a new QB. Like, that's going to be another year of just hard work from the top. That, I mean, you probably at that point you need to make, but like, if you don't need to, you don't have to. Like, it's the thing with the Giants last year. Like, I was like, it got terrible with Brian Dable, but if it didn't, I was like, look, if you don't have to make a move, you don't need to. Like, because think about those young players. You don't want them to go through coaches and stuff like that. I mean, Daniel Jones wasn't a good player, but you saw how many coaches and offensive coordinators he went through. And that, I mean, again, his O-line wasn't helping him through the whole entire career. And obviously, you would argue he wasn't a good player. But how many coaches, how many offensive coordinators, how many people he went through in that locker room it wasn't good for any guy that's trying to, make progress. It hurts you as a player to go through that many coaches. So you want to have continuity. And again, at the end of the day, the Giants couldn't do it because, I mean, again, in hindsight 2020, they found the right coach. And, I mean, they found not the right coach, but they found a good coach. And now they're here. But again, if you're Giants, you don't want to fire Brian Dable. And they had to after that stuff. So, like, you always, I know it sucks, but you always want to keep the coach as long as you can.
Well, you try to have stability and continuity, but then if the coach clearly isn't cut out for it, then the Giants made the right move.
It makes you look embarrassing. Like, it makes my front office look embarrassing. It makes the owners look embarrassing. Something's gonna have to change. But not until it does. But if there's just bad play on the field, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to pull the plug. But
the Jets, with them specifically, I mean, they really need Aaron Glenn to progress here as a head coach. And I think there is the potential there. I'm not writing them off, but that needs to happen. And I said earlier, it's almost like you're just looking ahead to the 2027 draft, but you're really not. I mean, in terms of like, they ain't going anywhere this year, but there's got to be progress here. I mean, Glenn has to get the most out of the roster. He's got to develop the young players they have. They had all these draft picks. They have more draft picks going forward. So things are lined up. But you know how it is with the Jets, they line things up and then it just doesn't work out. But maybe this is the time here that it does. So, we're gonna have to, see how it looks on the field, right?
Yeah.
Come week 1, the Titans, like, that's a game you go on the road, but winnable game week 1. We'll see again with the New York Jets. And as you said, the quarterback, I mean, that's going to be the big thing. You got to get the franchise quarterback. But, if you're not drafting high, you're going to have to maybe try to trade up.
It's a limbo with them as well. It's big time limbo of like the Jets gaining number 1 pick is huge. But at what point do you just need to
But you can't have that disastrous season where you have the number 1 pick.
Well, then you have to find a new coach and you have to do all that stuff. Like, that's what the front office doesn't want to do that either.
That's such a big thing. It's like, how are they getting their franchise quarterback? If they do have the disastrous year, well, then they'll be picking at or near the top. But if they don't, which they can have that type of year, then it's going to be, you're going to have to trade up. Now they have draft picks, that you would think they could use to put in a trade to trade up. But again,
they moved Quinn and Williams. Like, they moved those players. They actually had a pretty good trade deadline last year. It was surprising from the Jets. I mean, they moved Sauce Gardner, they moved Quinn Williams, and they got good. Like it was last year. It was a really. I give credit where credit's due. The Jets did pretty well.
Deadline,
like
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, you can't mess that up. Like you're selling assets for what you can get. But I mean, still, it was impressive. They not impressive.
Well, they've done a lot of good
Yeah.
things since the trade deadline of last year. But now you got to see it on the field in 2026. You got to be a respectable team. You know, you got to make progress. You can't have a disastrous year. And then you go from there, and it's going to be about, still building the roster and making it better. But then it's going to be about getting that quarterback. So then let's shift gears. Why don't we quickly just look at a few of the teams in the NFL? I'm just looking here at the power rankings. SI has the Rams at number 1. You got the Rams and the Seahawks at 1 and 2. I mean, that makes sense, right? Those teams being the top 2, whether whatever way you go with those two. They got the Ravens at 3. Do you expect bounce back from them? I mean, just quickly with these teams.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you always have a shot when you have a quarterback like that. I say like when you have those quarterbacks like Lamar, Josh Allen, Mahomes, then you have those. I mean, Mahomes on a different level, but you add those quarterbacks, you always have a shot to as much as we'll talk about Josh Allen negatively, but you always have a shot when you have like him. You always have a shot to be a high team.
Well, it's a team I'm thinking. How about the Chiefs? Like, do you expect them to have a big bounce back?
Doesn't
that seem like a foregone conclusion? Like the Chiefs are going to be back this year.
They better.
The Bills will be really good, right? Are they finally going to get it done, get to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl?
Well,
I don't know, but I mean, they should be really good again.
Yeah.
Anytime you have Josh Allen, like you said, I mean, you're going to be good.
Yeah, as much as we'll probably bash on him, as many as if you have him, you have a pretty good shot. I mean, yeah.
Regression from the Patriots? I mean, they can't go 14-3 again.
No.
They should be good though. I mean, Drake May hit a bad Super Bowl, but he's the real deal. Denver, I mean,
Denver's great. That's Sean Payton.
His coaching and their defense, and Bo Nix is really good. You know, and they missed out on the Super Bowl because he got hurt. Detroit bounce back year. I mean, they had a very disappointing year last year. Would seem like they're a prime candidate for a bounce back.
Yeah.
The Niners, they got a rash of injuries.
They always do, I feel like.
Yeah, so that looks like a team.
We'll see CMC full year. He's a ridiculous player. Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy, he's a good to great quarterback. He does great stuff for them. We'll see what he can do. You got Nick Bosa. That team is loaded.
If they're healthy, they should be good. But they're in a bear of a division.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Bears, they had all those comeback wins last year. Like, could there be regression there? Like, they just won so many games in comeback fashion, crazy fashion.
Well, I think that Caleb Williams is going to still progress. I think he got another year, and he's a young QB that could still progress. I don't know. I feel like Ben Johnson is very I wouldn't having Ben Johnson. I think they stay. I don't know. Either they go 11 or 10. I think they stay there, but because I don't think that. I think Ben Johnson is the real deal. I don't know. That's the best thing I would say.
They won so many games in comeback fashion. I feel like they're a prime candidate, not for a bad year, but for a bit of a regression. And then it's not that they're going to regress and then that's it. They're done. They could bounce back next year. But
I talk about the Commanders with Daniels and.
You read my mind, and I get a lot of things wrong. But last year, I thought Washington would.
When we go over the NFC East again, I really want to go over there.
Significantly regresses.
That's why I talk about the Giants being fourth. I'm like they could be I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about the NFC, so let's just go through this, but we'll talk about that later. But again, yeah, but the, the Bears, I don't know. We'll see. I think with them, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed the same because they've been going. They have Caleb Williams, they have Ben Johnson. Like that's, I mean, again, Commanders have Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, but I feel strongly about.
How about the Chargers? Is this their year to take a big leap? They got McDaniel. Like the big talk is McDaniel's their offensive coordinator. Third year of Harbaugh as their coach, Jim Harbaugh. I don't really. It's tough to believe in them, but I mean,
it's tough.
I'm a believer in Harbaugh. I mean, he's a great coach.
We'll see with Ladd McConkey, another year of him being that real wide receiver one.
Could
Amari Hampton another year. Was the rookie last year. They're gonna be a good football team this year. I don't know how far they'll.
Could McDaniel? Is it McDaniel's? Mike McDaniel is his name? The former Miami coach. He's now the coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
his offense was great. Like I think the thing about Mike McDaniel wasn't like you couldn't question.
Oh, he's great.
But yeah, I think that
that's why the Chargers brought him in. I could see them taking a step. I don't think they're Super Bowl, but I could see them taking the next step. Houston's going to be interesting. Cincinnati could Burrow stay healthy? If he does, I mean, they should be in the mix. We talked about the Cowboys. Like, I don't think either of us are ever a believer in them, but they're being talked up.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're a good football team.
That NFC South just stinks,
Yeah.
I'm looking at Tampa Bay, like, all right, like nobody in that division has any chance of going to the Super Bowl or deep in the playoffs. Carolina, they are part of the NFC South, but can they take the next step? Last year was big for them because they were bad for a while, and they won the division and then played the Rams really well in the wild card round.
Yeah, again, Falcons another year with Penix, Bijan, and Drake London. I mean, that three is not that three. Bijan and Drake London. I mean, those are two ridiculous talents. We'll see what they can do this year.
How about the Steelers? Is this where the Steelers really fall off the cliff? Mike McCarthy's now their coach after Tomlin stepped aside. You have Aaron Rodgers at 42 years old. SI has him 23rd in their power rankings. Is this the year Steelers don't make the playoffs and they just really struggle, or do you expect them to be competitive?
I mean, I
kind of always think the Steelers
are going to be competitive.
Can just be penciled in for being competitive.
Yeah.
But now it's a new coach. I mean, you had Tomlin there for a long time. They've had 3 coaches in 60 years, all that continuity. Does McCarthy keep that going?
Again, Mike McCarthy.
I mean, they could finish second in their division. I mean, the Ravens should win it going away. But just in the AFC North, they could finish in second.
Yeah.
I got to think about them a bit more, but the Steelers, I think that they deserve the benefit of the doubt. Like, they always find a way to be competitive.
Yeah.
But they've been stuck in that realm of competitive team, but really no chance of going deep in the playoffs and getting to a Super Bowl. So I think they're going to be that again. So I would say they're not going to fall off the cliff. But I don't know they're going to be a playoff team. And SI has the Giants 25th.
I mean,
I feel like the Giants are going to be better than that.
Yeah.
The Raiders are a joke. They're not even worth talking about. The Browns are a joke.
Fernando Mendoza's.
The Jets are 30.
I mean, we could talk about the Mendoza, see what he could do in his first year.
Yeah, right. Mendoza with the Raiders is interesting. That for sure.
Yeah. But like them as a team, obviously, you're right. It's a joke, but
Dolphins are gonna have a rough go. Yeah. So I mean, NFL, we'll do a lot more, Jack. we'll do our preview, get more specifics and go through each team, make predictions, right? Team predictions, player predictions. Jack's going to be talking a lot of fantasy football this year. We're going to incorporate, I would say, a lot more fantasy football into our show. So that'll definitely
big year for me. I picked 12 in my main league. That is a last pick, which means I picked first and second round. So we're definitely going to see. I'm excited for that. That's an exciting pick. As you don't want to pick last, obviously, but it's an exciting pick. You get the first pick in the second round. So excited for that.
Yeah. So I mean, we were talking off air before about how we want to approach football season, and you took the lead on it, and I totally agree with you. I think we should do a lot more fantasy football, as it's a huge thing in our country, our culture, right? So let's conclude the show with some baseball talk. All right. So, we haven't had a show in 2 months. A lot has happened the baseball season. It was pre-All-Star game, right? The last time we had a show. And, since then you had the trade deadline, which is always big in Major League Baseball. You've had some interesting stories here. I'll bring up the Red Sox with them, having an absolutely disastrous season. 3 months in, they were 32-46. Looked like they were going to be sellers. Looked like it just was going to wind up being a disastrous year for them. They then go and win 32 out of 37 games. At one point, they won 27 out of 30. They've made this amazing run where now they sit at 68-58. They're 10 games over 500. One of the most incredible runs I think we've ever seen in baseball. I mean, there's nobody that thought that the Red Sox would do that. So I think their run, is one of, if not the biggest story in baseball this year. I mean, it's just absolutely remarkable. And I won't give all the details of how that all transpired, but the Red Sox are certainly a big story. The position they've put themselves in. And then, Jack, we'll get your take on the Mets in a little bit here. So what I'll do, I'll just run through where the teams are at right now. So the National League's clearly better than the American League. It's much better. The American League this year is one of the worst leagues I could ever remember. And we had talked about that a little bit. We didn't do much baseball.
Number one, 63-63, the Astros, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Number one, the ALS and the AL West.
The American League is absolutely terrible.
Let's throw a fiesta for them.
So we had talked about a little bit earlier in the year, but we didn't talk much baseball because we had the NBA playoffs and the Knicks on their road to the championship. But anyway, I mean, the AL to me has gotten worse since the last time we had a show. It seems like it just keeps getting worse. Like I said, the Astros lead the American League West. They're 63-63. I mean, you have the Chicago White Sox are 65-60. They lead the Central. They're the number 2 seed in the American League right now. That means that the White Sox would have a bye in the playoffs. I mean, it's just like the league is an absolute joke. Tampa Bay leads the American League. They're 75-50. They're a good team. They're not a great team, but they're a good team. You got the Yankees. I mean, they're 70-55. They're the first wild card. They got to get Judge back. They got to get Stanton back, get Bellinger back. If the Yankees do that, I think then the Yankees are the favorite in the American League. The Yankees have excellent pitching. So if they get their guys back, because their offense has been really bad, really struggled. But if they get their guys back, particularly Judge, but then it's Stanton and Bellinger as well, I think that puts them as the favorite in the American League. The American League is wide open. You're going to have Tampa in the mix. You're going to have the Red Sox in the mix. I mean, one of these other teams, that are mediocre at best, could they go on a run in the AL? I would say yes, because the league's just it's a bad league. You go to the National League, again, much better, particularly the top. Big story in baseball really is, will the Dodgers three-peat? I mean, they're lined up to do so.
Yeah.
They got schooled at the deadline. I mean, you talk about the rich getting richer.
Yeah.
But they go all in. I mean, they invest. They do what it takes to build a juggernaut. They are a juggernaut. They haven't had a great regular season, but that's not the priority for them. They're lining themselves up for the playoffs. They're certainly going to win the division. Big thing for them, I would say, is securing the 2 seed. Avoid the wild card round. Last year, they were the 3. They played the wild card round, wound up winning the World Series. But I always said the big thing with the Dodgers, getting at least the 2. You got the Brewers again. I mean, they just do it year in and year out. The 30 games over 500. So we'll see if this will be the year that they could get to the World Series. Cubs are good. Phillies, they were looking really good for a while. They regressed. They should be a playoff team. So I just bounced around here, like just giving the overall picture of what it looks like in baseball now. But again, Sox a big story, the run they've gone on. But I'd say the biggest story in terms of on field is the Dodgers. Can they three-peat?
Yeah.
But then another story, which I don't think we should talk about today, but we certainly need to get into, is the looming lockout in Major League Baseball. Like that's putting a cloud over baseball right now. And that's really the biggest story of Major League Baseball is that looming lockout and the situation with the labor negotiations between the Players Association and the owners. So we'll certainly get into that soon. As again, I mean, if baseball heads towards a lockout and misses games next year and misses a significant amount of games, and there's some people predicting doomsday where, a lot of next year could be missed or maybe the whole season. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that is certainly the biggest story with baseball off the field right now. So then, Jack, I'll give you the floor to talk about the Mets. We'll wrap with the Mets today. So disastrous year.
I was in a great mood until we ran the Mets. This disaster year, disaster struck. The Mets do what the Mets do. They do disaster stuff, and who they bring in. I mean, like whoever they bring in didn't, like every person that they bring in really didn't succeed. Luis Robert didn't succeed. Bo Bichette. So actually, out of like everything, I've been, a big Mets hater of like, not a big Mets hater, but I've been a big guy that's like, you know what, everybody sucks. It's whatever. I'm not surprised. Whatever, we suck. I'm actually very surprised how bad Bo Bichette's been playing this year. It's surprising because he's very good. He's a good baseball player, and him really not coming to play, especially in a contract year where he can opt out, is surprising. But yeah, I mean the Mets have, again, Carson Bench, AJ Ewing, they're good baseball players. They're young and they're very good baseball players. But again, it's hard to really. I mean, again, they're bright spots, but it's hard to really have bright spots when you have this disaster season. Everybody else really just stinks. But AJ Ewing and Carson Bench, it's just everybody else just stinks.
Does their trade deadline give you hope?
Like yes, it does. They understood. They moved David Peterson. They moved, Peralta, didn't they? Yeah. They moved Peralta. Let me actually go through. But yeah, they moved like guys, and I feel like those guys weren't playing well. So, trying to get as much assets you can out of it. I mean, it sucked. They really had no leverage making any moves because everyone's playing bad. It's not like, Freddie Peralta was just having an amazing season, but the Mets were just 10 games in front. No, it's just everybody was just bad. And it's just it was really untradeable. So whatever they're gonna get out of it, they got out of it. I mean, it's hard. It was a hard deadline to make moves because like everyone was playing bad.
You still have faith in Stern or Stearns?
I don't. I really just don't. I think that he's trying to outsmart the system, which is, it's fine. If you're a GM and you want to use your brain and you want to make moves, that's fine. But I think he's trying to like outsmart the system, and you can't do it. It's hard to do that. Like, again,
I think that's what too many of these guys do in Major League Baseball now.
Yeah, general manager.
I think that's why the quality of play is so down. Yeah. I mean, you look at this disaster American League, and I think Stearns is not the only guy, but just try. Like you said, just trying to revolutionize things, right? Outsmart everybody instead of just making the sound baseball decisions.
I'm not saying you can't use your brain. Obviously, use your brain. Like, but man, it's like, we're gonna get Pete Alonso. We're gonna lose Pete Alonso. But again, according to my calculations, these three players can like take up. Like, that's just not how you should run a baseball team. if you have a guy, a homegrown guy, you don't let him go, and you don't try to be disrespectful and try to make up three, like they try to make it up with Jorge Polanco. Terrible season. The guy's done for the year. Great, congratulations, David Stearns. Great job. It's just it's not fun. Like, this is not a fun team when you're trying to do that.
It's certainly not fun.
No, like.
And then I just wonder if Stearns, look, he was really good in Milwaukee, but then you see Milwaukee just continued on after he left. Like, so they have a system in place, which again, like he gets credit for helping to build that, but they kept it going when he left, and now he comes to New York and he wants to keep doing it his way. But that's the problem, is you take somebody from a mid-market or a small market. I'd say Milwaukee's more of a mid-market. But, whatever, a mid-market, small market, they come in a big market and they want to continue on doing things the same way they did it in that smaller market. Like, I tend to think that doesn't work. And look, when the Mets hired him, I was like, oh, you should turn out to be a really good or a great hire. Like, look at what this guy did in Milwaukee, but now with the advantage of hindsight, but it's just a disaster right now.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing, I mean, Cohen comes in as the owner several years ago now, and you're like, oh, like this is going to change it all and change the culture. And, look, he has gone all in. All the money he's spent on the team.
It just is the worst use of money.
But
the thing is, he's giving the money to David Stearns, who is like, he's done all he can do. Like, I mean, obviously he can like take control of the team, which I don't think he wants to do, because he knows he's an owner like that. Like, people don't, like, some owners, that's why they fail. Like, owners fail. I mean, obviously the Mets have failed, but some owners fail when they just like, okay, it's my money. I'm going to take control of this team.
Jerry Jones.
Well, yeah, but like he's
the prime example.
Yeah, he is the prime example. But like, what he's done, he's given his money. He's given all that money, but he's not just put it in. He's not just been like, oh, I'm going to throw it in, hope for the best. He's given the money to David Stearns and be like, you spend that. I'm going to invest, but it's yours.
And Stearns was the guy that he wanted. That was the guy he coveted, got him, and here they are. I mean, it's just so tough to be optimistic about the Mets now. It's just another year, another disaster after last year's disaster, and then this year, just the whole year was a disaster. Last year, the first 3 months,
it's interesting what they're going to do.
We're good
because it's interesting what they're going to do. I don't know, because like you can't. I mean, you put yourself in a hole where like you can't not. I mean, you probably can just be like, I'm not going to go on that, but like you put yourself in a hole where like, and it's interesting because like we could talk about the lockout, but let's just say next year's going to happen. Like, next year's going to happen fully. It's hard for what's going to happen next year, because you obviously don't want to go all in because of how bad last season was. But again, you want to. I don't know. It's interesting with this team, because like they've had years where they just sucked, but now like it's a hard situation you put Steve Cohen in right now.
It doesn't feel like it's a one-off season fix.
No.
We could be right back in this next year. Like, it feels like they got to build it again. Like, again, he has all these resources, but again, it doesn't seem like it's that type of situation. It's this one-off season going to fix everything, and they're going to be right in the heart of the race in the National League, and competing for the World Series next year. But that's where they were supposed to be at by now, and they're not even close to it. So it's just the Mets. It's a bad organization, right? I mean, there's no way around it. It's like with the Jets. It's just I don't think the Mets are as bad as the Jets, but the Mets are historically a bad organization. Like, they have not had much historic success. And here it is, new owner, fan of the team, multi-billionaire guy comes in, goes all in, spends the money, brings in who we thought was the guy as the chief executive of baseball operations. And, it's a disaster right now. All right, Jack. Well, we covered a ton today.
Yeah.
We really went through NBA, NFL, MLB, went through a lot of stuff here, right?
Yeah.
Recapping the summer, and then, looking forward to what's upcoming with the start of the NFL season, baseball in the middle of the race towards the postseason, and then the NBA, the offseason.
Yeah.
And, the big thing on this show is going to be with the NBA is the Knicks, and hey, them trying to repeat as champions.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really exciting once they kick off the season in a couple months. So,
Yeah.
what do you got to close us out today?
You know, it's that time again where, you know, football's on the horizon. Basketball is going to start getting going. So it's fun times right now. Baseball. You like baseball. I'm indifferent. I think there's sometimes baseball is a little like boring, but it is what it is. And it's also better your team's good and my team isn't. But I think that like baseball, I'm really indifferent about it. But yeah, I mean, you got baseball right now heating up also, but it's time where we're in August, nice weather, baseball is, you know, we're gonna see baseball really shape out
Well, you could argue we got the best time of year in sports coming up with
Yeah.
the start of the NFL season and baseball heading
Yeah.
towards the postseason. And certainly the NBA is big on this show, so not quite there yet, but we're headed towards a really good time in sports.
Yeah.
If you're a college football fan, we do a little bit of college football, not
Yeah.
much, but that's starting up soon. So we know that we're going to have a ton to talk about as we continue on with season 3.
All right.
All right, Jack.
See you guys. Thank you.